Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by Chicago Charitable Games, CCG Poker, and the Chicago Series of Poker. Also by Paramount Social Club in beautiful Houston, Texas. I know how you hate the intro, so I was trying to mix it up a little bit.
I like that distribution of love in that intro.
Yeah, give a little love to the CCG folks. Speaking of Team CCG, we're going to talk about Vegas and how that went in the WSOP. Some of you have already known because you've seen us on the Twitterton or other social media websites, but we thought we'd give you the full breakdown. That way I only have to tell the story once, even though I've told it a couple times beforehand. But this way we only have to tell those sob stories once or twice, and now it's on a podcast and it's out there forever. And everyone can listen to it, like Alex Foxen. I'm pretty sure he's going to listen to it.
Or Nick Schulman.
Or Nick Schulman. So why don't you lead us off, Brando? You went to Vegas. Your flight got delayed.
Yep. So I'm sitting on the runway, like they're telling us we got to deboard. We're gonna have to go to a different plane. Some like thruster thing didn't work. Apparently you need that to land.
Nice.
And
quick side note. Did you see that Twitter video where the Delta or the American Airlines
and
flight?
it was smooth as butter.
Dude, it was nuts. They had like no front wheel.
I know.
It's crazy. Anyways.
It's funny because I told your sister, I was like, you know what? I always get scared is that like the landing gear is not going to come down. It's like there's no warning for it. All of a sudden they press the button and it doesn't go down. It's like,
and you're like a half a mile from the airport on your way down.
To be fair, it's kind of comforting hearing that sound that the wheels are coming down. Like, all right, I'm going to live.
Okay, the wheels are down. Worst case scenario, we got fucking wheels.
Right, we at least got wheels.
Yep.
So I'm texting you like this sucks because I'm already pushing it. Like the tournament was about to kick off as I was taking off.
Yeah. Now we're referring to the $10,000 PLO. Is it just called the PLO Championship?
It is. It's the World Championship. It's the PLO World Championship. Yeah.
Yeah. So the PLO World Championship was supposed to start at 2 p.m. I'm
sitting at LAX 45-minute flight at like 1:52.
Right.
Like 8 minutes before it's kicking off. And now my flight gets delayed and this is terrible. And then Kenny just goes, good news.
Good news for you, buddy.
WSOP slammed and they're backing it up to 3. And I was like, wow.
I also want to go over the fact that the $10,000 PLO World Championship, the championship event for the Pot Limit Omaha, so like the premier event for PLO. Now, granted, there are other bigger events, like there's a 50K PLO and there's like a $600
25K high roller.
Correct, yeah. But this is supposed to be like the $10,000 main event equivalency. It's the $10,000 PLO championship, right? Like that's like the world champion is from this event. And even they were like, yeah, sorry, everybody. I'm like milling about and I'm looking at my ticket and it says Paris, purple, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, that's got to be a good sign. I like table 1, 2, 3. And I'm in the 8 seat, which is like the super nuts because I get to start with the button and the 8 seat's my favorite seat in a PLO tournament. I like the 8 seat in general. And walking around and there's like a ton of people at the tables and it's like 15 minutes beforehand and I'm starting to get that panicky feeling and I was already a little nervous about the fact that I was playing in a $10,000 tournament, which I've never done before. And that's a lot of money. So I was a little nervous about it. I was a little keyed up and I got my bag full of granola bars that I didn't eat and a magazine that I didn't read and 4 battery chargers in case like the world ended and there was like an EMP that I needed to have 4 extra battery chargers for a phone that's never going to fucking work in the zombie apocalypse. But anyways, I had all of that stuff. Plus I had, like 4 bottles of water. It was a very heavy book bag. I don't know why I brought it. It was such a disruptive bag that I left it in the hotel room with a note on it to the housekeeping that was like, sorry, I left my shitty bag for you. Hope it treats you better than me. So I'm like looking around and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is the right spot. And then you get that panic moment where you're like, am I in the right spot? Like, did I misread this? And I was like, no, it's purple Paris 123. And I'm like, I will say this. I'm going to say one nice thing and one bad thing. One nice thing, the tables were very easily discernible. Like
so
it was
easy
so much better than last year. Like this is the second year it's been at, well, not Horseshoe and Paris because Old Bally's is now Horseshoe.
Yep.
So now that you've got it in like 2 separate convention areas, which let's be honest, they need, because this place is fucking mobbed, which is awesome. It means poker is busier than it's ever been, I believe. So, like, they need the extra space. So, like, am I in the right hotel? Am I in the right spot? Like, do I have to run all the way across to the other side? But it's really not very far, right, Brando? Like, it's pretty close between Horseshoe and Paris.
You just hit a diagonally line, a diagonal line right through the casino.
It's not bad.
Really not that
it's
bad.
Like,
but it is definitely separate.
Oh yeah.
It is definitely, you are walking like through
it's a
the
whole
main
other
casino.
area. Yeah,
it's a whole Like, but once you get there, you're like, oh, I'm definitely in the
super
right
easy.
spot again. Yeah.
So I played in. So I'm like, I can't find it, and then I finally the woman's making an announcement. So I do what my pet peeve, and I'll throw this out there on the podcast, so maybe people will remember this. Like, if I'm in the middle of an announcement, please do not come up to me and ask me a question while I'm literally talking to the entire room. Like, it's never fails. And then I'm like, so I waited. I didn't interrupt her. She gets done, and she's like, "Yes, sir." And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "PLO Championship." I'm like, "That's." She's like, "Oh, you didn't listen to the announcement, did I?" I was like, "Fuck, no." It's exactly what I would have said if I was in her shoes. Be like, "I just literally said this," and I was like, "Yeah, could you say it again, just for me personally?" She's like, "Yeah, they're gonna start at." She's like, "We're hoping to start at 3 p.m." She's like, "So just come back here at 3, and we should have a better idea of where we're at." And I was like, cool, no problem. So that's when I texted you, and I'm like, $10,000 World Championship of Pot Limit Omaha. Let's push it back an hour, no big deal. Just no beef.
To my delight.
Even the WSOP, the pinnacle of the poker mountain, literally the Mount Everest of poker. This is the most massive, most recognizable poker brand on the planet. And even they can't start tournaments on time. I love it. Makes my job in Paramount and CCG feel so much better that the WSOP 10K events are just like, yeah, we're going to push back an hour. Sorry, everybody. Come back and see us.
I will
come back and see us in an hour.
In previous years, I was talking to Vinny out there who's still dealing at Caesars. He was saying in previous years, they always had enough tables and not enough dealers. He said this year they have enough dealers to fill every table, and it's still just not enough.
They have too many people.
Which is like the correct. It's like, if there's no more tables, the WSOP, they can't do anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will agree with that.
It's the same thing when you walk into CCG and there's 3 tables empty, but we still have huge lines because there's no dealer.
Right.
That looks way different than every table 15, being full.
Yeah, all the tables are running.
And then it's like, well, yeah, there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
But, that's still obviously starting an hour. And it ended up being an hour and a half late.
It was an hour and 15 minutes. Like, I rolled back over there at 3 o'clock, and they weren't really saying anything. And then they had to do like the standard thing, which I totally understood. And then I eventually got out of the way. I was like kind of lurking about by my table. Well, they're trying to break tables out of the purple section so that they can start the PLO tournament. So she literally had to say like 2 or 3 times on the announcement. She was like, or over the PA system, she's like, PLO players, please exit the tournament area so we can actually get the tables broken down, let the players move to their new spots, and get you guys started. Like, they didn't have chips, they didn't have anything. Like, obviously, all that stuff is already pre-done, but like, I was just like, oh yeah. I'm like, I went all the way over to the side, just like chilled, and I was like, I'll just wait, and then, it was fine. So we didn't end up starting until like 3:20, which is good for you because you had a how long delay? Was your flight delay?
I would say it was about 40 minutes delayed.
Perfect. So like you actually got a jump start.
Yeah, I got a 20-minute bonus.
Yeah.
And it was one of those flights where it was like posted an hour, but it was really just like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's flight, landing patterns and stuff like that.
You gotta wait.
By the time we got up to our cruising altitude, we were going right back down again. And I think since we had a 45-minute delay, we just like shot right in there and just got in. So
yeah, you must go to the front line.
It didn't even end up being 40 minutes, like, because they shaved off 20 minutes.
I will say this. On my flight home from Vegas, I flew home on Friday night, and like an 6 o'clock Vegas time. Anyways, it's supposed to be a 3:20 flight. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes on the way there. And then on the way back, they're like, oh, it's only like 250, which I guess is like the Jetstream bonus or whatever. I was like, cool, whatever. We got it down. We're downwind or headwind or some kind of wind that helps us. Right, downwind. And we end up getting in there like even faster than normal. We get done in like 2:20, 2:25. We're landing. Guys like, we're already landing. I was like, holy shit, this is way early. And
well, yeah,
so then we land, and they're like, we're going to have, we're so excited that we got here early. However, the gate will not be open for another 20 minutes, so we're going to have to wait until you get in, which is fine. Like, you're still just sitting there. It's like the earliest possible moment, but I was like, what an opposite experience between you and I. Your flight is delayed. You have to get off, get on a new plane. I get my plane there super fast. Early. And then they're like, oh, yeah, now we have to wait because we have nowhere to go. And I was like,
So we flew home Southwest, and we flew into O'Hare because that's where my car was. But same thing. We got in late. They're like, good news is we landed 40 minutes early. Bad news is our gate's not going to be available for 25 more minutes. Yep. And then they had to like turn on the AC, and it was all hot, and they wanted us to close the windows and wait. And it ended up being like almost an hour. Ooh. So it kind of sucks.
Double sucks.
Yeah, but anyways, back to the action.
All right, so I'll start because
you got a 2-hour head start on me.
Yeah, so I actually
I showed up at the break.
Yeah, so now I did Ken tip number 1 of the 54th WSOP. The best times to hit up the lines at the registration in Paris, because you can only register for tournaments at the Paris cage. You do alternates and like re-entries in Horseshoe, but you have to. I think the main cage is where you buy everything at Paris.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure.
That's correct.
So I had flown in Tuesday night, got in late, basically just fell asleep, woke up at like 5 a.m. And I was like, "Buck it, I'm going to go down there and buy into the tournament right then and there." So like, if you go, and they're open 24 hours, so if you go down there at like 5 a.m. to 6, like there's nobody there. There were more cage workers, more people in the cage than in line. It was literally just me. It was awesome. So I signed up early, went back, took a little nap, got in there. There was a delay. Sit down at the table, get my 60K in chips. Super excited. And I will say this. PLO tournaments, normally when I play, you and I in general, I would say, they're like in the $600,000, maybe $2,500 range is kind of like 25 would be on the top end. Like if it's $1,000 to $1,200, like I'm perfectly comfortable at that number. I'm not nervous at all about the dollar amount, but obviously 10K, like I was nervous about it. Like I had like buyer's remorse immediately, and I was like, should I have done this? Well, it's too fucking late now. Like we're already in this, so we're gonna see what happens. But typically, I would say at like the circuit events where they're like $600 events or $1,000 events. There's a lot of later entries, meaning people don't play the early levels. Like a lot of people don't play early. Would you agree with that?
Yes, there's also re-entries and all of those too, which matters.
Correct. Yep,
that's why a lot of people are buying in later because they're re-entering.
They can rip it a couple times.
But in general, you get a far like back-ended like registration.
I had gone into it kind of expecting to have to change my play according to like that we're going to have like 5 players at the table. But when we started the first orbit, I would say by the third hand dealt, we had all 8 players at the table minus 1, and that was a player who had registered and was being blinded off. So technically he was there and being blinded out, but obviously not contributing to any of the action. But yeah, everybody was there at my table. Who did I have there, Brando? Alex Foxon in the 3 seat, and Will Jaffe in the 2. In the 4 seat, he was next to him on the other side.
Yeah,
4 seat.
Yeah. Those were the 2 big
names. I didn't recognize either of them. Brandon had to tell me who they were. They were sweethearts. They were very.
To be fair, you did come at me on break and was like, yeah, like I can tell like the 3 seat and 4 seat are like good.
Uh-huh.
Like you sniffed it out.
I pegged them right away. I knew.
Like they seem like comfortable talking to everybody. Yep. Like, well, meanwhile, you're like, I'm shitting my pants here and trying not to bluff off my stack at the first level of a 10K.
And I will say, like, I kind of eased into it. Like, it was nice to start out. I think the blind started 100, 200 with a $200 big blind.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it was 122. So you kind of smooth in. I started with the button, so that was nice. I got a whole free orbit of hands to kind of work my way into it. Felt good. Like I was just kind of, I'm here. I'm looking around. I'm noticing about, I don't know, $80,000 worth of watches at my table. I was like, well, this is maybe a little out of my league, but that's cool. Everybody was having fun. You could instantly tell, I would say within the first 15 or 20 minutes, kind of who was direct players and who were like pro players, or at least that kind of like, who I needed to stay aware of and be careful of, and like who I could exploit and would definitely be calling me down with a straight on a flush and a paired board kind of thing,
Yep.
Also, full well knowing that I can't bluff a flush or a full house against a flop straight because that dummy's probably going to call me anyways. So like you got to take it both ways, right? So it's weird taking it both ways. But yeah, I mean, I won my first hand about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hands in, like right before the big blind. I kind of got checked the whole way down. I think I had opened like a small, standard 2.5x or something, 2x. It was nice to win my first hand. It was like the first hand I played. I opened for like maybe 500 on 1-2, and then it checked the whole way down to the river where I was like first to act. I think I acted first and like bet the pot, and everybody folded. I was like, oh, sweet. Won my first hand. I'm undefeated at the PLO World Championship so far. And I didn't have anything. I had a 5. Just a 5.
I had a 5. See, now you can revert back to when I won an all in my first hand at the 2021 main event, which was my first 10K ever. And you said you eased into it. Remember, I knocked that short stack out with Jack 10 on my first hand. I got like just jump right into the deep end. Like, all right, we're playing a 10K. Oh, I just stacked somebody.
Nice.
Like you got to ease into it a little
I
bit.
got to ease into it and feel good about it. And it was nice.
At the river.
I started just accumulating chips right away. I was at, like 63, 64, and then it was like 70, and then I was at like 80, and then I was at like, just shy of 100. And then I made another really big pot size bluff on the river. I was looking for, I think I flopped a straight. I was pretty sure he turned a bigger straight. Like I flopped the nut straight, but it was like a low end, and then like a jack came out, so it gave it like a bigger straight out there. So he had like queen 9 for his straight, queen high straight, so like my 10 high straight. So I knew I was kind of fucked in there. But it also made a heart on the turn, which I knew he was afraid of hearts. And then the heart came on the river, and he checked and made this big like blah, 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 like noise. And I was like, I think he's very fucking scared of hearts. And I was like, I rip it, 25K. And he folded. That felt really good. And that was right before the epic downfall of Ken's Pot Limit Omaha Championship. So I was on top of the world there. I had like 125K. I'm thinking big thoughts here. I'm Googling Daytona Rolexes. I'm already spending this $1 million prize pool for first place. I think it was like 1.3. I'm like looking at timeshares in Honolulu. I was having a blast, I guess I'm just going to tell my whole story.
Yeah, you go ahead.
We're already there.
Our stories are very different.
Yeah, so that was the peak. I felt like I had a really good...
So you did double up your stack.
Yeah, I mean, I did do it in one...
second break.
Yeah, this is
second break.
This is like level... I think this is going into like level 5.
Which
so you did 2 1-hour levels and then a break, 15 minutes. Then 2 1-hour levels, 15-minute break. So now we're into level 5, which is probably 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3.
I think it was like 3-5. I think.
3-5. Then
I think it's 3-5.
Then what did it go to after 300, 500?
3-6.
And then 4-8.
I don't think I made it that far.
I made it to 6-12.
Which would be the second last level of the day. Yeah, because then it went 4-8.
Okay.
Then,
all right. So anyways.
5-1, then 6-12. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. I thought it was closer to hand. But then, so I got my 130K. I had like 128,000 and change. I think I tweeted that out. I was very excited about it. I was texting Brando, who was down to like, on the flip side, you were down to like maybe 12K.
Snap got, ran my 60 down to 15, yeah.
And I like made fun of Brandon in only a way that 2 poker players can. I was like, haha, I have 100K more chips than you do.
Oh, you had 136 and I had 36.
There you go.
But yeah, that was it.
So I guess I had
just
a little
100K more.
Just 100K more, Brando. It's not like I was going to give you like any kind of like pity sympathy of like just keep grinding. No, I just made fun of you.
No.
So then a little bit longer later, little old Kenny gets kings 6-7 double suited, king something of hearts and king something of diamonds, whatever it is. I open. I think, I'm trying to remember. I think I was either near the button or I was maybe like 2 from the cutoff or something. So I was ultimately the last action, which I think I told the story wrong originally, but I do remember I acted last in the hand. I open, I get like 3 or 4 callers. The flop comes king, 7, queen, right?
Yep.
King, 7, queen. So I flop top set. It's a banana flop, which is Ken for rainbow, no suits, which is nice. I'm last to act. Everybody checks back to me. I'm the original better of the hand. So I bet like a decent size amount, like maybe quarter pot or something. It's a pretty big pot at this point, right? Because, I mean, blinds are 3-6 probably. So I must have opened up to like maybe, I don't know,
1,500, $3, $6K out there.
So I think I bet I might have bet half. Yeah, I think it was like 7K in the pot, and I bet like 2,500. So a little bit more in a third. I get 2 callers. Alex Foxen being one of them, and my nemesis being the third. Turn is a queen, which when you've got pocket kings, feeling pretty good. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, and it's diamonds. And then I was like, oh, wait, Ken, you don't need to worry about a flush because you already have a full house. So that was stupid. And I remember thinking that. So I'm hoping maybe Alex or the other guy got a read off of me for being like dumbfounded by the fact that a diamond hit and I had a diamond draw, but it didn't matter because I'd already boated up and it was the nut boat. So Alex Foxen checks, random guy from Charleston, South Carolina, who was very nice, but kind of they could not have been at opposite ends of the spectrum. Alex Foxen is like super aggressive, plays very well. Everything he's rolled over has been very good hands. Nobody's been able to catch him on a big pot where he wasn't dominating the other guy. Like super pro, stay away from scary big giant guy. And I don't know if you've ever seen Alex Foxen. Google him.
I mean, most players should know.
There you go. He's got like $30 million in tournament winners. He's got like 3 bracelets. I don't know. He's apparently a big deal. He's also a huge human being. He's like
he's
6'5",
large.
He's huge, like 300 pounds, but like he looks like an NFL linebacker. Like
he's like a brick.
He's just huge,
broad shoulders.
Just a big beefy man of He-Man proportions. And then you got the Charleston kind of guy next to me. So, anyways, they check. I bet out again. I'm not worried about anything. I've got
obviously
kings full. So let's see. At this point now, there's about 14 in the pot. I think I bet maybe 5K. They both call. Oh, no. Alex folds. The Charleston guy calls. Sweet. River comes a 7. So now the board reads king, 7, queen, 7. 2 queens, 2 sevens, and a king. I've got the nut full house. King's full. Obviously, I wouldn't tell the story unless there's something weird that's going to happen. And the weird thing that's going to happen is Charleston, my friend, all I'm worried about are queens and sevens. Right, Brando?
Right.
What are really the odds of that happening? The way the hand played out, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it just sucks that like both of your lower sets like beat you now. Like if you set overset somebody, you lost.
I just lost to both.
Yeah.
Which thankfully Alex didn't have queens. He didn't. He folded. So the river's a 7. He bets out 6,000 into me. I didn't even hesitate very long. I just rip him all in. I mean, I didn't rip him all in. I raised it to like 26,000. Because again, what am I worried about? Like, I'm not worried about queens or sevens here. Maybe I should have thought about it for a second, but I didn't. I just made it 26. Well, then he only had like 54 all day. So he goes all in for 54. And he did Hollywood for a minute, which, in all honesty, even if I thought he had quads, I still have to call because it's only like, I don't know, it's not enough for me to fold. Like, I can't
like
fold. And I've got 130,000 in chips to start the hand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not folding. You got it. You got it. Like, it's a Manoli move. I'm just yelling, you got it. You got it. I don't care. Like, I just lose. It's a cooler. I'm cold now. And that's it.
Cold now.
That's it. Game over. I mean, it's not game over. I have big chips. And I literally thought to myself before he turned over his hand, I'm like, I only lose to queens or sevens. And I'm like, oh, remember that Maria Ho quote? You build big chip stacks so you can lose big pots and still be in the tournament. And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm giving back all of that profit and a little bit more. It is what it is. And of course, sure enough, I raise him. He goes all in. I snap call. Like, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm like, I call. Just chucking a chip. And sure enough, he rolls over queen 7-7, like 4.
Yeah.
So he flopped bottom set, turned a boat, queens full of 7. So he probably was thinking he had me.
He turned his good boat.
He turned a good boat and then rivered quads. So I mean, it is what it is. Like I just lose there. Maybe Alex Foxen had the other queen. That's probably what it was. Maybe he had king queen. It was miserable.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is like you can still be king queen. Who's probably doing that? So
well, then I mean, and you and I talked about it. I ended up like ripping apart that whole hand for so long. I'm like, do I just call on the river there? Do I need to raise? Because like in all honesty, is there anybody who's going to call me unless they beat me? Is there like just king queen call there? Like I bet it the whole way. He bet 6,000 into me on the river. I make it 25.
He probably calls. I don't know.
He just calls 25. But is there a benefit to it? Me raising that 25,000, that $20,000 raise on the river to being.
Maybe you should be I don't know. Like maybe you should be raising enough to where if he jams, you can just you just raise fold.
And again, I guess if my plan is to raise fold. Then I should
then you got to raise like 15K. Then you're at that point, you're squeezing 9 more K out of them. You might as well just fucking call.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I misplayed that one. So if anybody's out there and listening to the show and wants to give me a critique on my play, I promise I will not be mad. You can be like, you're a fucking moron. I won't be mad. It's fine. I mean, especially over the internet because there's that 0% punch in the face factor. I call it the Mike Tyson factor. He always tells people that there'd be that less people saying stuff on the internet if they could get, because there's no chance they're going to get punched in the face. Do you like my Mike Tyson? It's pretty good, right?
Pretty good.
Please, Mike Tyson, if you're listening, my name is Brandon. I live in Indiana. You can come find me anywhere. I am not the handsome-looking one with great hair. Don't punch me. Or I'm Ryan. Yeah, that's it. This is really Ryan. No hair. I have no hair, and I look like a lumberjack from Canada. Punch him in the face. Anyways.
Twice.
So it was nice. I will say, between you and Ryan, you're my 2 people that I will ever text during a tournament, and both of you gave me like a lot of good advice because that was like kind of a crushing hand for me. I went from thinking I'm going to have $250,000 in chips here to like I'm down to like 90 again.
A fucking Brando stack. No, yeah, less than not even a Brando stack. But
and again, it really wasn't that bad. Like he only started the hand with like, it wasn't that. I mean, I still had almost 100,000 after the end of that hand, so it really wasn't that bad.
It just felt worse than it was.
It felt worse than it was because it was such a cooler hand. And then like a few hands later, I get like Jack 10 9 8, flop the nut straight, bet it the whole way. I'm not going to be reserved this time. I'm just jamming pot every time. And Will Jaffe and Alex Foxen are both in that hand again. The river finally comes out of heart. He bets
backdoor hearts,
and I obviously lose that hand again. He's got nut hearts. Although when he did roll over his hand, we got to see him. He did turn 2 pair, so he turned 2 pair, shitty bottom 2 pair, and a
nut flush draw.
So it is what it is. He might have had a gut shot in there as well. I didn't really pay that much attention. I just knew I couldn't beat hearts, and I was devastated again. Then I was down to like just shy of 60, which I remember thinking, wow, it's the first time I've ever been below the starting stack, because I literally, the first hand I played, I won, so I've never been below starting stack, so that was kind of a thing. And then literally 4 or 5 hands after that one. So this all happened within like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It was a nice,
devastating.
Just a string of lost a 230K pot. Yep. Then like 4 minutes later, it was like lost another big one.
Yep. And then I'll say the third final one. And it wasn't the final one, but it did kind of put the nail in the coffin where I was kind of downtrodden at that point. I had queens double suited, flop, one of them being spades. The flop was ace of spades, 5, 10 or something, 9. I don't even know what the fuck it was. But it was all spades. And I have queen high spades. At that point, I'm not good enough to fold second nut flush in a tournament. I'm just going to play it out. And it's obviously against Alex Foxen, which was nice. And he bet it. I checked, and he bet the whole way. And he bet kind of small to start and was probably leading me on. And I was hoping he just had the king blocker, because obviously he would be willing to make that play, especially since he gave me a fucking table knock on the quads. Like, whoa, that sucked. And then he beat me on the river on the flop straight, and he's like, That's another cooler. So like he was, I felt like we were buddies, like we were brothers in arms. And even though he had taken all my fucking money,
consoling you.
He was consoling me. He was doing what Vinny says. Vinny, if you're listening, you got to entertain the fish. Apparently, he thought I was the fish, and he needed to entertain me and make sure I come back next year. Because I probably will now because I had such a good time playing with Alex. We're buddies now. I think he follows me on Twitter, and he doesn't. And he bet it the whole way. Then finally on the river, he made like a $25K bet, which I ended up calling, which was like half of my stack, and punted it off, hoping that he just had the king of spades, and was just blocking me dumb enough to fold, but I'm not.
Probably how he would play the king of spades, though, right?
I had a 50-50 chance. I didn't win, though. And then I went card dead for 3 more hours, made it to like level 8, but just never got anything going, and then finally fell in love with like a king, queen, 9-10 double suited, and I was just like, man, this is it. And I shouldn't do that, and I did. I felt like I was mentally beaten up at that point. I just couldn't get anything going, and anytime I was like, maybe I could play this one. Nah, be smart, fold it, and then I'd flop top set.
Then you connect.
Yeah, and then it's just like, but I mean, really, for the most part, for a solid 3 hours, everybody goes through this point in a tournament where you just, you get card dead. I literally did not open a single hand. The only time I saw a flop is if it got checked and I was the big blind. I didn't even limp the small blind. It was that bad.
Yeah.
But I got it all in with a flush draw and top pair against middle pair, a gut shot, and he obviously the gut shot got there. And it was this drunken
non-heart, right?
That I did not like. Yeah, non-heart.
Yeah.
Oh well. That was my PLO main event-ness. I didn't feel like it was bad though. I felt like I was proud of my play.
I feel like it was a little fast.
You thought it was fast. I didn't think it was fast because of the fact, 2 reasons. One, I started at the first level, so I kind of got everybody in the first 2 levels, like before the first break, everybody really was playing pretty shallow in the sense of there wasn't a lot of big bets. There weren't, it was I guess when there's 800 in the pot and you're betting 2/3 pot, it's fucking 500. It's not much, I mean, it was kind of very tame betting, and then as the tournament progresses, then the bet sizing and everything progresses at that point, and then people's chip stacks are progressing, so then of course they're pressing a little bit more and willing to kind of bet draws and play draws, whereas in the beginning of the tournament, everybody's kind of playing that we got to see where everybody's at least that's the way I felt.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess you kind of played with a lot more chips than me, a lot too.
I also built a chip stack so I could float sometimes and all right, well, there's 3 players in this pot, and I normally wouldn't call 3K on this on but I'm like, but I'm closing the action and I can connect here, and if I hit the flop, I can hit it hard, and I did it a couple times, and that's how I built you kind of run it up at that point. But
yeah,
I don't think it was too fast. I think it
was.
I
don't think it was too fast. It's just for a 10K. I don't know. I guess they just start with the big blind ante and everything now, so you got to get used to that. But.
And that is relatively new. I feel like that's just something last year that the World Series started doing, was the big blind ante in PLO tournaments, which is confusing for a lot of people because you don't count the ante in the pot pre-flop, but you count it post-flop. So it gets a little funky, and I will say
this. But it has to be that way because you shouldn't be able
100%. I'm not arguing that point by any means. I think it's the best way to do it. It's just it's confusing to some people if you're not aware of it. Plus, I will say the nice thing about the structure sheets, it says 100, 200, and the open is X, and they tell you exactly 700, right? So it's 3 times the last bet plus the trail. Now in cash games, we normally round up the small blind, and then we kind of round up, or the openings 15, which is there's things that happen that in cash games that are a little bit different, but all in all, I had a really good experience.
Precise.
Yeah, I had a really good experience. I will say I was, again, I won't say disappointed, but I was surprised by the dealer skill, especially for a $10,000 tournament. I thought I was getting a little bit different vibe last year when I was playing the $1,500 mystery bounty. And I was like, well, that's a $1,500 tournament. And for the WSOP, those are kind of the bottom of the barrels, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
relatively small.
It's like a $40 tournament at CCG or at Paramount, whereas like out there, the 1500's like you're kind of playing like the fucking junior varsity tournaments.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like there's a 10K version of every 1500.
I thought there would be a 10K version of dealers, and there wasn't. There was a lot of times, and again, it's PLO, so most people are the players, especially playing in that kind of tournament. They're comfortable and they're not nervous about what the pot size bet is. So you really didn't even have to do much. Everybody knew what the pot was, or it was very easily attainable, even though the dealer would be like, 4,000. We're all like, that's not right. Try again. And it'd be like, forget it. Fuck it. It's, it's 5,200. I mean, they would just, some other person would say it, and then everybody would agree, and it would go forward from there. So, but I was surprised.
I will say that the dealers that couldn't count or didn't know, I liked that they were just kind of going with what the players were saying, because it was right. I mean, it's a 10K, all the players are, but not like arguing. Like, I think it's something different. It's like, oh, okay, I'm 5,200. That's what these two guys are saying. That's what it is. Like,
we're going 5,200.
We're going 5,200. That sounds nice. I'm not even going to attempt to do it and tell them they're wrong, and it's actually 5,300 or
whatever. Who gives a shit?
It's like, if you suck, know you suck, embrace the suck, and go with it. And it was fine.
All right, well, tell us about you. You came in through what level? Oh, after the first break, so level 3.
First break, so level 3.
Which is 2, 3, 3?
I think is 1, 2. I think it's 2, 3, 3, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, 2, 3, 3. First off, I only had 8,000 cash and needed more cash, and I couldn't go to the ATM. And
correct.
I was trying to pay 8,000 in cash and 2,000 on my Venmo card, and they wouldn't do that. And then I was like, well, how about I buy 2 tournament chips or like 2 tournament vouchers, and then add that to my 8K cash? And the guy's like, well, no, you have to use all tournament vouchers if you're going to use tournament vouchers. And I was like, all right, well, then I'll buy 10,000 in tournament vouchers. And he's like, well, you can only do that on one transaction. I'm like, okay, what if I walk up here with 8,000, buy 8 tournament vouchers, then go to the end of the line, and then come back and buy 2,000 with my Venmo card, and then I have 10, and I get back out of line, and I go through the line again, and then I buy it for the main event seat. He's like, let me talk to a manager. And he's like, no, can't do that either. So I just got straight up. I'm like, okay, then. So I text you, got to get your last 2K you got on your person. So struggle to get my money. And then I got 10K, and we buy in, we sit down. Nick Schulman was at my table, and I actually recognized him first by his voice. I was like, man, I know this voice. And I'm like, oh man, this is the voice of the guy from Poker Go. Oh yeah, that's Nick Schulman. It was kind of like a reverse. Like, I heard his very tempered, relaxed tone of voice that he his announcer voice, and that's kind of how he talks.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck, I know this guy. So then him and a couple other buddies were talking, and I didn't really know them. I ended up figuring out who they were later. But again, it's a $10,000 world championship. You're going to be seated with pros. It's just it is what it is. It's like one of the guys said in our group chats, you didn't play a 10K thinking you were going to get a bunch of fish at your table, did you? We're like, no, we know it's going to be pros. It's like, I wish I didn't know 3 of them by name.
Yeah, that's a little rough.
But anyways, so sat down with 60K, 233. My first hand I played was
now, do you just get dealt in, or do you sit down in the big blind, or you just sit?
Yeah, I just sat down and was in there first or second to act. I just sat down and started playing. I would say second orbit. I played my first hand. It was ace queen 9-8, and then it was jack 10-8. Flopped the nuts, queen 9.
Hey, me too. I got fucked in that hand as well.
So it's jack 10-8 rainbow. I got queen 9 with an ace in my hand for the higher redraw,
which is always nice. It's all about the redraws.
A little bit of it kind of is,
and
and this is how I'm saying I thought it was fast, because it was just a normal raised pot, and it went the guy bet, and then I raised, and then he just potted it, and it was basically 40K. And I started with 60, and it's all right, I guess I'm all in. I flop the nuts, I'm all in the first hand.
Yeah.
So I flip over my cards. I got queen 9 with obviously the nuts, and the guy had ace king queen for the upper wrap on jack 10. And now the turn came a king.
And he had hearts too, or this?
No. It was rainbow. Rainbow. No flush draw. And the turn came a king, which gave us both Broadway.
Oh no!
And then the river came
I
up
do
break.
remember that.
So we
sucks.
chopped. So we chopped. I
That
mean, I
sucks.
lose with an ace or a queen, or I lose with an ace or a 9 or a queen. So there is a couple, hands I would just be out on my first hand.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll take a chop. But he just like turned. I was kind of free rolling, and then it just turns to where like I can never win the hand outright, and he still can. I'm semi getting free rolled on the turn, which I guess is better than being dead, but still. So then still, I would say either in 2-3-3 or in 2-4, like within this hour of me playing.
Mm-hmm.
I had the queen 5-4-3 double, and it's like these are the type of hands that like you feel obligated to defend your big blind with because you got the big blind Danny out there, and they're only they're giving you such a great price, and it's like queen 5-4-3, and then you get the flop that I got of queen 6-3, where you flop top and bottom pair and an open ender, and now you're playing in a 4-way pot out of position. You kind of just
shitty cards. You're not really sure what you want.
Right, but you flop the shit out of the flop, but you got shitty cards.
Yep.
And it's and I got an open ender, and it both ways is to the nuts. So it's like, all right, at least I got 8 outs to the nuts, and I got top and bottom pair, and it was just me and a guy to my right who I found out. Reverse how I found out his name. Somebody just called him by his first name, and I figured out his last name. He's like a King's Room, like high stakes player. He's got a couple bracelets. He was firing 100K on across the board in baseball. So I mean, the guy, and I was sitting there. I'm like, okay, here's like the guys I'm faced up against. He also had a really, really sick like gold Rolex with a gold face inside. This is extremely nice Rolex, and I didn't even know how to begin to look up how much it costs. So, but I just decided if he's playing 100K a game in baseball, it's probably a pretty sick watch. So anyways, he fires the flop, I come along. He fires the turn, I come along. Queen 6-3 again, turn 5. So now I have 3 pair and like a weird gutter, like upper straight gets there, 7-4. Right. And I'm like, okay, but he bet small again. And now I kind of don't really want to hit my straight. I kind of want to hit my boat because I got 3 pair. Right. And then the river comes at deuce, which gives me 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for a straight. And it 4 lines of straight out there. Queen 6, 3, 5, 2. So a 4 in anything is a straight. Which I have 4-5, and then he checks the river, and then now there's like 15, 16K in there, and I'm like, man, am I really going to be a nit here? And just like check back the second nuts last act when he checked me on the river. And in my head, I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, these guys would just think I'm such a freaking nit. I was like, I got to bet small here, and then if he raises me big, like I'll just muck. And so I bet small, and then when I say small, I bet like half pot, like 8K into 17, and then he just like makes it 21. And I was like, well, he didn't raise me big, he raised me small. This absolutely sucks. And I kind of priced myself in kind of how you did with your and I mean, not to say that you're never folding. With you have a much stronger hand than me there, but I have the second nut straight, and I'm like, all right, 13 14K more. I call. He had the gutter ball 7-4, queen 7-4, so he was just betting the flop with top pair and a gutter, and then drilled the gutter on the turn, and then bet small, kept me in, and then I hit my straight that wasn't good enough on the river, and then he check raised me and kind of played it perfectly, and was like, shit, I kind of just got owned there. So instantly lost half my stack and down to 30K. Or down even more. I think I was down to like 20 something.
Yeah, I think you were down to like 20 something at that point.
Yeah. So then now I'm just in like, well, this kind of sucks. I'm almost out. Blah 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 blah. And
yeah, you went negative. You went negative, Brandon.
I did, but I was like, and then I texted your sister, and she's like, "Oh, stop it! It's the first. You just sat down." I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I went into straight grind mode, just dipping and dodging and weaving and trying to get in anytime I can limp or complete the small blind, even with a bad hand. Like
you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a flush.
So, kind of a lot happens here. I go on second break, and we're down. This is where we get lost, and we didn't get lost. We got all turned around to the bathrooms, and we made it back. And I remember being like 20K. You were still on your. This is right before your downfall. Yep. So you're sitting on. You're sitting with like 128.
Yep.
You're like, dang, Brandon, this sucks. And meanwhile, you're like, I don't give a shit about Brandon. I'm fucking going.
I'm crushing.
I'm crushing. So I remember getting down to 12 or 11K, and I got double suited kings. I think the blinds were 3-5 at this point. 3-5, and I think I was able to like a guy opened to 15, and then I was able to like pot it for like 45 or maybe a little bit more, like 5K, like half my stack, just getting it in. King 7-6 double suited, which this guy was a pretty tight opener. And I'm like, well, I could be running into aces here, but I'm like, I can't fold. I got 20 bigs and double suited kings. Like you get it in. And sure enough, he had a full 60, 70, 80K stack. So I mean, maybe he's just doing it with rundowns and stuff. Sure. And he's like, screw it, I'm all in for the 12K. I call. He flips over like shitty aces, but aces, like ace, 4-3, but 4-3 of spades, and that was it. So I had like both suits live. He did have aces, whatever, blah blah blah. King in the window, just bang, king in the window, flop top set, and then he actually turned a 4-high flush draw, and then bricked it. So double back up to 25, feeling good, and finally have a little bit of breathing room. Lose another pot kind of instantly after that, trying to parlay my winner, and I'm just kind of back in the same boat of 15. And I wait, 15, 14, 13, 12. Finally pick up raggedy aces, like worse than that guy's ace, like ace 7-3 no suit. That's what it was. Ace 7-3 no suit, and it went like limp. Then a guy opened, and then the guy to my right, this Keith Lears guy, he kind of 3 bets to like 6 or 7K, but now he's got like 200K, like 150K. So now I'm like, oh, well, this is my shot. So I shove my 16K or 15K in again, and comes back around and gets back to Keith, and he literally goes, I think I have to call.
Ew, I hate when I say that.
He goes, I think I have to call. And I'm like, whatever, I'm trying to double up here. Right. Like, and I instantly flip over my aces, and he goes, "Oh, I said I think I have to call."
Oh, I forgot about this.
Call. Yeah. So he's like, I
think I have to call.
Right, but it was like he made it. He opened to 8,000, and I shoved for 14, so it was 6K more. Like
he really does have to call. Yeah.
Right, and he says that, and then I flip over my hand, and he goes, "Whoa, I didn't call yet," and then the dealer called the floor. Then the floor gave me a warning for exposing my hand. And he's like, listen, he's like, I'm not angle shooting you. He's like, I'm calling because I have to call. He's like, you could show me aces and I'm still calling, even though I have an ace in my hand, which he did. He's like, I'm never folding because I'm priced in. He's like, but I didn't say call. I was like, I'm not arguing. Like, whatever. Like, give me a warning. Sure. So I got a warning for exposing my hand too early.
Which is hilarious.
So anyways, he does call. He has ace king 9-6. Flops a 9, turns a king, and then I counterfeit him on the river with a board pair.
Ooh,
so double
Brando's
up again.
Still alive.
Brando's still alive, and I'm just winning, just gobbling these small pots. So now I'm back to like 30.
And that's your third all-in that you've survived now?
That was my second. Okay, there's one more incoming.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So then now I'm at like 20K, and now Nick Schulman got moved, but this other super wizard pro, Sam Somerval, who ended up getting final table in this tournament, he gets moved into the same seat as Nick Schulman. And he's really nice guy from Daytona Beach, Florida. But we start talking, and he was kind of pretty active, and he had lost some of his chips. And I would say I was now down to 22K-ish, 20K, in the 20K range. And blinds were now 3-6, I think. 3-6. And I ended up 3-betting him small. I ended up 3-betting him small with ace 7-6-5 double suited, like just kind of spicing it up a little bit. And then he just like 4-bets, gets it. We end up getting it in. He 4-bets. I'm like, screw it, I'm gambling. I'm riding my rush here. Like I'm still battling for a 40K stack here when I'm 7 hours into the tournament and starting stack 60, so I'm just ready to I don't want to say double up or leave, but I'm ready to take the flip here for a 50K stack. And he ended up having ace, king, queen, 7. So it kind of sucked. We're sharing the ace and the 7, but I had the 6 and the 5 and running. So it's basically like my low cards versus his high cards. We're both sharing an ace and a 7. I flopped a pair of 5s and just held. For 50. Yeah. So it was like I flopped a pair of fives and a gutter, and then I turned hearts, and then river came a brick, and like he needed to hit a king or a queen because I flopped a five, so his ace is no good and his seven's no good, so he needed to hit a king or queen. Then I turned heart draw, and I had a nut flush draw with my pair and my gutter. He's just drawn to like a non-heart king, non-heart queen, so pretty lucky. I mean, I looked it up. It was like 60-40 him, so I got it in bad there, and
it happens. It's PLO, though. It's PLO. Anything can happen.
And so now I'm like, here we go. I finally got 50,000. Like, you've now, I think I had more chips than you at this point. We're like even because you had gone through your spin down right as I'm spinning up. But yeah. I had won 3 all-ins, and I was still didn't have a starting stack.
Yeah.
So I was kind of proud of my battle. I did get it in once gambly there to get it up to 50. But besides that, I felt pretty composed.
I mean, let's be honest. If 60-40 is your worst worst all in, like that's really not that bad. Like I've seen much worse.
The Kings versus Aces, I was like 38 on that one too. But again, that was just a product of the situation. Like,
correct.
That's double suited kings with 20 big blinds in a poker tournament. You just ain't fold.
You're just gonna do it. Yep.
Right. Okay. So now it's nice and it's juicy. And unlike you, who kind of had a slow bleed, it's just all over for me here. I honestly want to say it was the same orbit as I got to 50K with this Ace 765 that I pick up in the cutoff, Jack 7-7, Jack 7 of diamonds. The guy to my left, Jewish fella, he lost a pretty sick one where he got it in with top set and hearts, and the guy just got it in with a pair, and the guy went backdoor like gutter ball non-heart against him. So he was kind of tilted and a little steamed, but like was still composed and had chips. Like he still had more than me. But so I opened Jack 7-7, Jack 7 of diamonds in the cutoff. The small blind 3-bets me. That's this guy that's kind of a little bit tilted, and then the big blind cold calls, which is this Sam Silverville guy, and then so now it's back to me. And when I say I probably opened to like, I think it went 1,500 to, or maybe it was like 1,800 by me up to like 6,200, and then a flat call. So it was like 4,200 or 4,400 to me to like make a 20K pot. So in my mind, I'm like, it's 4K. There's 20K out there. I'm still going to have, 40K behind, maybe a little bit more. I'm comfortable going to a flop here with Jack 7-7. It's kind of going to be like I flop a set or not. And again, I'm kind of ready to just chuck it if I don't flop a set.
Right.
And if I flop a set, we're going to play a big one. And sure enough, Jack 5-4 of diamonds. So top set, Jack high diamonds for me, and the small blind guy leads, and the big blind folds, and he leads for like kind of smallish, but not that small. I want to say like 10K, and I'm just like pot all in. I think pot was 46K, and I had like 42. So I'm potting all in. He ponders for maybe like 5 seconds and just calls, rolls over aces and diamonds, and just turns an ace. I'm just drawing dead.
Just turns an ace. That's it. Game over.
That's it. Game over. 110K chip, 110,000 chip pot after grinding and winning every small all in. It just all came crashing down, and I was out.
Would you say, if you had to rate, would you say that you were completely outmatched in that event, or you felt pretty comfortable with playability-wise? Meaning, what was your feeling? I know you thought it was a little fast, but again, you lost.
Yeah, I thought it was
early.
I thought it was kind of handcuffed to be able to do anything.
Yeah,
but I could certainly see, like the guy to my right, like. He was extremely comfortable playing one paired hands and, kind of shittier connectors, trying to spin up a stack. And I don't think it was like there was that much crazy stuff happening that was like above the rim poker. Right. I don't think I was completely outmatched.
Yeah, I don't think I was either. I felt pretty comfortable in my play. Obviously, we both kind of ran.
You got to remember, a lot of those big names, they're hold'em guys too. They're just playing 10Ks because they're rich.
Right. It's them.
You know,
Yeah,
it's our specialties.
It's us playing 600s.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'd go play a 600 no limit, even though I'm a PLO guy.
So that's the bad beat stories from Vegas. I think that's going to do it for this episode. We're pushing about an hour, which is about the maximum I want to talk about it on a podcast. Next week, I think we will do another podcast about the secret tournaments that you should know about when playing at the WSOP. And Brandon and I came up with, I think, maybe the biggest diamond in the rough from these events, and I want to save it for next week because it's probably going to be another 20 or 30-minute episode about what we found out. So stay tuned for next time, episode 86, The Secrets of Vegas during the WSOP. I'm very excited about that. But either way, Team CCG kind of came out swinging. We both took a shot at a 10K PLO event that was top of the numbers of what I'm ever willing to gamble on in one swoop. I still felt good about it. I'm still on board with playing this event next year. It was very cool. I will end with this. It was very cool to play an event. Obviously, I got to play with Alex Foxen, who has like 29,800,000 in like 3 bracelets, a couple of rings, like massively awesome player. He was talking in the first level to a producer from the F1 show on Netflix about doing a behind-the-scenes poker player one. They did that F1 series, and they did Full Swing.
Yep.
And now they're talking about doing a poker version of those. So that was really cool, and that's when I first was like, oh, this guy must be somebody, because apparently they don't ask nobodies to be on the TV show. And then I was like, oh, maybe if I play really well, they'll want me to be on the show. But either way, Johnny Chan was at the table next to me. He looked very thin. I saw Eric Seidel in the event.
Negrani was in there.
It was cool.
Ivy.
I mean, it was a very cool event to play in. I'm very excited that I got to play in it, and I'm excited to play again next year and hopefully fare a little bit better. You always got to be learning. Apparently, that's a thing. So I felt like I learned some stuff about myself and my PLO play. Very happy with it. Anything else to add?
I just wanted to win.
I wanted to win too. It'd be nice. I wanted my picture with the bracelet and wear it to all the CCG early bird events.
Hey,
that's what my goal was.
only wore his ring for a year, so you can wear your bracelet.
Wear my bracelet for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Make sure you see us this weekend, either in Texas or Chicago. Come out and play, and we will catch you next time with the Secrets of Vegas.
CSOP opener.
Yeah, this weekend. This will come out on Thursday night.
Chicago.
So come and see us this weekend. We'll be around, and we'll be out in Vegas next week for the main event. I am not playing, but I will be doing some of those secret tournaments that I talked about and cash games, and should be a good time. So we'll see you next time.
Farewell.
Farewell, everybody.